Or if any of the boys here were going to greet someone, then you're reminding me of Alexander Hamilton, always yelling, quiet down.
Yeah.
Now, I was taught to greet people, especially adults, by bowing. A proper bow, Levi, I will not teach you how to do it. Which, take your right foot, put it in front of you. Turn it a bit to the side like this. This is because in my day we wore breeches, not pantaloons. Because you want to show your calf. A good calf is an excellent way, gentlemen, when you're old enough, in 20 years or so, that you can interest a lady that you might find interesting. She will know that you're a good dancer and you're good at riding horses if you show a good calf. So you put your best foot forward. Put your best foot forward, and you keep your leg then. Your back leg is bent a bit. Your front leg stays straight. Your back leg is bent a bit. Your left leg is bent. Yes. Put your hands out to your side, and you bend at the waist, just at the waist, a little bit. That's all. And then back up. Now you have a hat on, so it's very important, Levi, that when you're wearing a hat, you bow. You must take hold of your hat, put your right foot out again, bend a little, bend your back leg a little bit. Take your left hand, your other left. And when you bow, you must take off your hat and hold it down. Well done, Levi. That is a sign of respect. That is how I was taught to greet people when I was a boy. Now, young ladies are different. Young ladies did not bow. How did young ladies greet people in my day?
Curtsy.
Sound like you're in pain. Do you know how? Come on. What is your name? Lucia. That's a very pretty name. Lucia, stand right here. Do you know how to curtsy, Lucia? Let's show everyone here how you curtsy. Oh, well, I didn't even have to teach you. Well, now, if I were to greet Lucia on the street, I wouldn't curtsy to Lucia, would I? So I would bow, and let us pretend, Lucia, that we are walking along the street in Williamsburg, and we greet each other. I will then bow to you, and you curtsy to me. Well done, everyone. Give Lucia a round of applause. I didn't even have to teach her how to do it. Very well managed young lady. So this is how we were taught to greet people in my day, in Britain, when Virginia and New Jersey were part of Great Britain. But there's a problem with that kind of greeting. There's a problem. You see, if I were to greet a king or someone who is superior to me in society, a lord or a king or a lady, I would have to bow lower than them. Very low indeed. The king does not bow to anyone. The king's head must be higher than everyone in a monarchy, because the king is better than everyone, or at least that's what they say. Well, that's what they say in a monarchy. And when I was born, I believed that because I was taught that. There may be some things that you were taught that when you grow up you won't agree with anymore. So when you greet a king, you have to bow very low because you are exposing your head to him as if to say, if you want to cut my head off, you're allowed, king. Because it's your head, not mine, you're the king. And if a lady were to greet a queen, you would have to curtsy very, very low indeed. And bow your head when you curtsy. The queen might nod her head at you a little. And that would make you feel very good, because the queen nodded her head at you. But you have to curtsy much lower than the queen, because the queen is better than you. Now, do you believe that? No. No one's better than anyone else, unless you behave poorly and then you have to be sent to your room. That is what all men are created equal needs. That no one's better than anyone else, unless you behave very badly and have to go to your room. And you behave very nicely and you get to sit in the front of the class and you get to have a cookie. All men are created equal doesn't mean that even if you behave badly and you behave well, you're both treated the same. No, no, no. All it means is that when you're born, you're all the same. No one's allowed to be born a king. Yes. We're all equal when we're born. We're all the same. But then if you behave well, people will respect you more. If you behave badly, they won't respect you as much. That's what that means. But that was something fairly new. That was the reason for our revolution. And it's very important to use words very carefully, because words are powerful. But actions are powerful too. So if we said all men are created equal, but I had to bow, and you had to curtsy to the queen, that wouldn't make any sense. So we had to think of a new way to greet people that communicated this equality. When I came to Philadelphia, I met a group of people called the Society of Friends. Have you ever heard of them? Yeah. Have you ever heard of the Quakers? Yes. That's the Society of Friends. They don't call themselves Quakers. Other people call them Quakers. I don't know. And I saw that they greeted each other. They didn't bow and curtsy to each other. Do you know how Quakers greeted each other? Like this. They didn't shake. None of that primitive shaking there. Just a hand clasp. Because if you reach your hand out to shake someone's hand, that means we're both equal, doesn't it? We're on the same level. We're equals. And I saw that. I liked that. I also saw that Aborigines had hand clasps. Do you know what an Aborigine is? Yep. What? A Native American. An Indian. They had all kinds of hand clasps. When Lewis and Clark, years later, when Lewis and Clark went out to explore the West while I was president, I sent them. They learned from the Shoshone Indians in the Rocky Mountains a very special kind of hand clasp called the National Hug. Who'd like to help me show everyone what the National Hug is for the Shoshones? Come up here, sir. Matt, put your right arm out like this. They would clasp forearms like this. Nice and strong greeting, right? And then they would press their shoulders against each other and pat on the back. Pat me on the back. Nice and hard. The National Hug of the Shoshones. Now, after a few hundred people do that to you, it gets a little bit rough. And Meriwether Lewis complained about it a little bit. Well done, Matt. Well done. But you see, it was a kind of a hand clasp. Yes, well done, Matt. And well done, very well done. It was a kind of hand clasp. And there were Indian tribes who had never seen white men, but who had hand clasps, all different kinds. I liked that. I thought Native Americans did it. That was something that's uniquely American. I thought Quakers did it. It meant that we were all equal. So when I became president, I began shaking people's hands. Now, who was the first president? Who was the second president? When both of those men were president, they bowed to people and people bowed to them. But then I was the third president. I said it's time for us to change. Time for us to change our actions. Because the way you dress, the way you behave, that's very important. It says something about who you are. Not only that, it says something about your family. It says something about your school. It says something about your country, how you behave. I knew that, especially as president. So I decided Americans don't bow and curtsy because we're all equal. So I caused a great ruckus when, as president, I greeted people by shaking their hand. But Americans liked that, and they all began doing it. And pretty soon, no Americans bowed and curtsied to each other, did they? It's just one of those little ways every day you can communicate that you're equal, you respect someone as much as you respect yourself. You show them that I don't believe I'm any better than you are. I respect you. Unless you misbehave and you get sent to your room. But if you behave yourself, you get a cookie, all right? Now, we have a bit of time left, so I'd like to, again, I told you I would come back to answering more questions. Some of you might have thought of more questions while I was talking. So I'd like to open the game. All the way in the back. Yes, sir.
If we only bow.
Isabel, you may sit down if you want to, or do you want to come? What color are your eyes? Look brown. Look brown. That's very close. Isabel, my favorite color is hazel.
Yeah.
You know why my favorite color is hazel? Who did I say that you asked me about my favorite lady friend earlier? What did I say her name was? Martha. My wife. Her eyes were hazel. You sit down now, Isabel, unless you want to stand if you're tired.